Howdy everybody, the Redneck Republican here, also known as Justin Wittmer-Mikesell. Figured I would come on today, make my first video, I guess. I don't know how this is gonna go. It might be a complete disaster, but we'll see how it goes. So for the first video of mine, I figured I would come on and talk a little bit about my endorsements for the upcoming primary here in Indiana and also the nation. The first one we're going to get out of the way pretty easily. The only national election that will be on my ballot coming up in May is United States Congress. I currently reside in Indiana 9. My congresswoman is Erin Houchin. She's the Republican incumbent. She's unopposed in the Republican primary, and I will not be supporting her. I will not be voting for her. I will be leaving her name blank. To put it simply, I've talked a lot about her on my Twitter feed. To put it simply, she is a MAGA shill and an establishment swamp creature. I really wish there was a better candidate running against her, kind of like back in 2024 when we had Hugh Doty. Thought he was a fine candidate. Would have liked someone like him again, but alas, it wasn't to be this time around. But that's okay. Like I said, just going to leave her name blank, and I will not be supporting her in the general election either. I'm not sure who I'm going to support at this point, but it will not be an establishment swamp rat like Erin Houchin. So now I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, and we're going to take a look at Secretary of State. Now, obviously we don't pick the GOP nominee for Secretary of State in Indiana using a primary election. They are just nominated at the state GOP convention by elected delegates from each county. I am not running to be a delegate. I will not be a delegate. I will actually not even be in the state on the convention day. But I'm still going to support a Republican candidate, obviously. So, first off, we'll talk about Jamie Rittenauer. I'm not going to be supporting her. She is just a nothing candidate. I really haven't even seen her campaign that much. She actually ran a pretty decent campaign when she ran for governor. I mean, from being pretty much a nobody statewide to not only not coming in last, but getting more votes than a former state attorney general is a pretty good showing, I have to say. She ran a decent campaign for governor, but this Secretary of State campaign has just not been it at all. So, a lot of people don't even mention her name when talking about the candidates, and I can understand why. Now let's look at the incumbent, Diego Morales. If you follow my Twitter, you know exactly how I feel about Diego Morales. He is nothing but a crooked, corrupt politician who uses that office for his own personal gain, whether it's for $90,000 luxury SUVs, whether it's for vacation trips to India, whether it's giving family members high salary jobs. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, incompetency is another thing. I mean, just this primary season, a lot of candidates had to, they went and filed their candidacy at the Secretary of State's office. They ended up having to go back because the Secretary of State's office didn't do the filing correctly. The people actually taking the filings weren't really authorized to do so. And the list just goes on and on about how just incompetent Diego Morales' administration has been. And at the end of the day, if the Democrats were just going to run a run-of-the-mill Democratic candidate, like, let's say, a Blythe Potter, I wouldn't be necessarily as worried about it. I still wouldn't be a fan of Diego, but I wouldn't be worried about it. But with someone like Bo Bai, who's got the last name that he's got, and he's going to have the support from the Democrat machine that he's going to get, we can't mess around with our GOP nominee. And add on top of that, the Ballard campaign. I'm not going to say Greg Ballard. I'm definitely not going to say he's going to win, because I don't think he's not going to win. And I'm not going to say he's going to get a ton of votes. I mean, who knows if he's even going to get enough votes to get the Lincoln Party ballot access. But I guarantee you he's going to get enough votes that it's going to cost Diego the election, and then in turn elect Bo Bai Secretary of State. I'm pretty safe in almost guaranteeing that right now. Or I feel pretty safe in guaranteeing that at this point. So that is why I wholeheartedly support David Shelton, the Knox County Clerk, for Secretary of State. The county clerk is, in a lot of ways, the county level of the Secretary of State. Not only is he a good county clerk, he's been awarded and been recognized as one of the better county clerks around. As far as we know, doesn't have any major scandals. I mean, the best thing that the Diego team could find about him is that his wife used to sell sex toys. I mean, really? That's the worst you could find about him. But as soon as they found out that John Rust was supporting him, of course, then they shit their pants. Because the GOP establishment in Indiana is absolutely terrified of John Rust. Rightfully so. He's an actual conservative. But anyway, I got to meet David Shelton when he went on the John Rust show. We did an interview. It was a great interview. And I think that not only would he be a perfectly great Secretary of State, I think he also will have no problem beating Bo Bai and Greg Ballard, because the only thing, this is my main thing with it. The entirety of the Bo Bai and Greg Ballard campaigns is Diego's bad because of this, Diego's bad because of that. They rarely say anything about their own qualifications to be Indiana Secretary of State. If you take Diego Morales out of the equation, Bo Bai and Greg Ballard ain't got squat. Now, I like Bo Bai and I like Greg Ballard, but they ain't got squat to run on if Diego Morales is not the Republican nominee. Trust me, they do not, Bo and Greg do not want David Shelton as the nominee, because their campaigns are basically done. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Ballard even would drop out if David Shelton becomes the GOP nominee. I mean, he might not. Who knows? That's just me brainstorming, right? But so that's pretty much my 2 cents on that. David Shelton gets my complete and total endorsement for Indiana Secretary of State. So now let's look at some more statewide races. My state representative, Alex Zimmerman, he represents Indiana House District 67, which encompasses the majority of Jennings and Ripley counties, a large part of Jefferson County, and a little bit of Decatur County. He's not my favorite representative. I mean, he supported redistricting, so that gets some knocks from me. He's been kind of weak on the IEDC. Alrighty, sorry about that. I had to take a quick phone call. But anyway, so yeah, Alex Zimmerman, I mean, kind of weak on the IEDC. Had some votes on the IEDC that I thought were kind of weak. But I actually got to meet him at a little debate that the Ripley County Chamber of Commerce had at the South Ripley Elementary School here in Versailles. And during the debate, no one really, and it wasn't just a debate for the Indiana House District 67, it was a debate on a lot of candidates from Ripley County. So the IEDC wasn't actually specifically brought up in the debate, but after the debate, I went up to him and asked him specifically about the IEDC, and his answer, it was a decent answer. He said that there definitely is some fraud with the IEDC. It definitely needs to be looked into. It wasn't as gung-ho as maybe I would have liked it to be, but it was better than nothing, right? So that's why I'm comfortable in giving Alex Zimmerman my endorsement. He's unopposed, so he's going to get the nomination. He does have a Democratic opponent, but there's definitely, like, again, he's definitely not the greatest Republican. Like, I could see myself supporting some other Republicans if he actually had some challengers. But he's decent enough that I feel comfortable giving Alex Zimmerman my endorsement. Now let's look to Cutter Ridge, where my family farm is at. Cutter Ridge falls under Indiana House District 68, and that encompasses all of Dearborn, Ohio, and Switzerland counties, and then Milton Township and Jefferson County. I'm located in Pleasant Township of Switzerland County. That's where Cutter Ridge is at, the family farm. But anyway, it is currently represented by Republican Garrett Bascom. And again, Garrett, I believe he also supported redistricting, so again, gets a knock from me, but he's also definitely not the worst Republican you could find. I've talked to him once, and he said one of his major focuses is actually mental health, and I appreciate that. Not a whole lot of people talk about that. Garrett Bascom is a good guy, good representative, and would definitely gets my endorsement this time around, and I would have no issue giving him my endorsement, even if he had some opponents, unless it was someone else who I really knew and really liked or something like that. Now let's look to the big one. Now, for sales, Ripley County does not have a state senate race this year. Jean Lysing was re-elected back in 24. She is not up for re-election until 28. Now, I would 100% support Jean Lysing for re-election if she was running this year. She was one of the few Republicans who had the balls to stand up to the Trump and MAGA machine and vote no on redistricting. So I would 100% support her for re-election if she was to run again. But now on to over at Cutter Ridge. And by the way, Jean Lysing she represents Indiana Senate District 42. Now over in Indiana State Senate District 43 encompasses all of Dearborn County, Ohio County, Switzerland County, Jefferson County, Scott County, and then the southern portion basically of Jennings County. It is currently represented by incumbent Republican Randy Maxwell. He is not the incumbent elected full-term state senator. He was actually caucused in back in, I believe it would have had to have been 2023, I believe, when he was caucused in. The incumbent, Chip Perfect, he retired, so they had a caucus to replace him. He wanted to replace Chip Perfect. Randy Maxwell won. He has been serving out the remainder of the term, and then he is now running for re-election. His opponent is Joe Volk, a farmer from Dearborn County. Randy Maxwell is also from Dearborn County. But Joe Volk is a farmer and small business owner from Dearborn County. And he actually was one of the candidates who ran in that caucus. And see, the biggest problem with Randy Maxwell for me is he's too well connected for my liking. He has friends in pretty much every place he needs them to be. Like, for example, when he was caucused in, guess who endorsed him? Chip Perfect, the outgoing state senator. And when I talked to Joe Volk about the situation, he said that pretty much when he was calling around to the different precinct committeemen trying to get some support, pretty much almost all of them said that, well, we're voting for Randy. We pretty much all decided that's who's going to be the guy. I was like, what? How is that in any way a fair election process? Just the way that Maxwell was kind of, the way he got into office was just a little bit under the table, in my opinion. And another thing with Maxwell was that he voted for redistricting, so it was obviously a knock for me. And because of that, he's also Trump endorsed, so obviously anyone who knows me will know that when I can, will obviously jump at the chance to support a non-MAGA or a non-Trump endorsed candidate. And supporting Joe Volk allows me to do that. Now, that's not the only reason I'm supporting Joe Volk. I'm supporting Joe Volk because I actually like Joe Volk, and I think he will be the best option for Indiana Senate District 43. One big reason I like Joe Volk is because of the fact that he is a farmer. So, yeah. Farmers need representation. As a rural guy myself, I want farmers to have representation in the state senate and, the state house, U.S. House, and U.S. Senate. I'm not saying that you all need to be farmers, but farmers are the backbone of this nation, and I think it needs representation. They need representation in government. And that is why I'm supporting Joe Volk and giving him my total endorsement. Joe Volk is someone else that came on the John Rush show, had a great interview. I encourage y'all to check it out, get to know a little bit more about him. He can explain his platform a lot better than I can, obviously, and he does a good job explaining it on the show. I'm gonna finish it out by saying I'm not saying Randy Maxwell is a bad guy. I'll probably end up supporting him in the general over the Democrat. But that's the whole point of the primary, is that we're just trying to find the best possible candidate out there. And I think Joe Volk is 100% the best candidate for Indiana State Senate District 43. And I think that's all I want to talk about for the state side of it. So now I think I will go more locally. And so for Ripley County, we only had 2 races that were competitive. The race for Superior Court Judge and the race for prosecuting attorney. Now, with the race for Superior Court judge, I think both candidates are great. You have the incumbent judge, Jeff Sharp. He's been there roughly 11, 12 years now. And then you have the current chief deputy prosecutor, Shane Tucker. I personally am endorsing Shane Tucker for Ripley County Superior Court judge. It basically boils down to Shane's younger, I like that, and he came and knocked on my door before Jeff Sharp did. That's basically it. I like both their platforms, both God-fearing, conservative guys. Very much, we both have many things in common, politically and even outside of politics. So, no matter who wins that election, I'm pretty much happy with. I think, Jeff Sharp's done a lot of good for the county in the past 12 years. I think he will continue to do good if reelected. But I think Shane Tucker could bring some good new ideas that might be or will be valuable to the Superior Court judge. So, onto the prosecuting attorney, which is a little bit more in depth. In this instance, I am supporting the incumbent prosecutor, Rick Hurdle, over his challenger, Frank Arkenberg. Now, Arkenberg, he was the prosecutor back in Ripley County during the 80s and 90s, and obviously I wasn't alive for that, but it seems like he was a decent prosecutor. My biggest thing for him is he's kind of trying to portray like he'll be some new blood almost, but he's not, because he was the prosecutor before Hurdle. And the biggest knock that he's using on Hurdle at the moment is that Hurdle is taking a lot of special prosecutor gigs. And on the surface, I can maybe see where he's coming from. Especially if we were like a bigger county that had much more crime, a bigger crime rate. And then I can maybe see, okay, maybe him leaving to go do these special prosecuting cases could cause like a backlog of cases, right? Problem is, that's not the case. One, Ripley County, with it being a small county, does not have nearly the amount of crime as a bigger county. Up to this point, Arkenberg has not been able to prove that there's been a backlog of cases in the prosecutor's office. But also, even if Hurdle isn't there, again, you've got Shane Tucker. He's been doing a tremendous job there. He could definitely handle the load if Hurdle was not available. So, the knock that he's trying to get on Arkenberg the knock that Arkenberg is trying to get on Hurdle just isn't there. Taking a look at Hurdle, been the prosecutor since '98, been there a long time. People who know me, y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of longtime incumbents, but that's mainly for like state house type stuff. When it comes to more county level stuff, I don't take that into consideration as much. Hurdle, he's been the prosecutor for a long time. Ripley County's been a relatively safe community for a long time, not a whole lot of crime. I think Hurdle's done a great job. And, even these special prosecutor gigs, one of those is very valuable to me. See, Rick Hurdle is the one who put away Jamie Knoll, the former sheriff of Clark County and the former 9th District chairman for the Indiana GOP. Obviously, Knoll, one of the most corrupt sheriffs you can probably imagine, had a lot to do with John Rust being unconstitutionally thrown off the ballot. Jamie Knoll was a driving force behind John Rust's campaign getting stonewalled in 2024. So because of that, I very much appreciate Rick Hurdle for putting that guy away for a long, long time. So that is why I'm wholeheartedly supported Rick Hurdle for re-election for Ripley County Prosecuting Attorney. And I think with that, that's about all I'm going to talk about for now. Some national stuff here. I mean, I 100% support Thomas Massey over Ed Gallerine. I mean, that should, people who know me, that just comes no surprise. For Florida governor, I like both Jay Collins and Paul Renner. I think they're both great candidates. Byron Donalds is a MAGA shill, and I don't know, James Fishback, I don't know. There's some things I like about James Fishback, and other things I see James Fishback, and I'm like, ooh. So, but Jay Collins, Paul Renner, both military guys. I think they'd both be great options. For California governor, I think Sheriff Chad Bianco is awesome. And we'll leave it at that. Let's see, for some New Hampshire Senate, I support John Sununu over Scott Brown. One of the only times I would support a Trump-endorsed candidate. The only chances we have of winning that seat is if it's a Sununu running. I like Scott Brown, but he ain't got a shot. I mean, I don't think John Sununu has much of a shot either, but John Sununu has much more of a shot than Scott Brown because of his last name. Georgia Senate, I'm not really a big fan of most of them, but I'll go Derek Dooley because he's a football guy. A lot better than the two MAGA candidates, Mike Collins and Buddy Carter. Back over to Indiana. For Indiana Congressional District 6, I 100% support Sarah Janice Brown over fake conservative Jefferson Shreve. Shreve seems like a nice guy, but his record on guns is way too wishy-washy for me. I mean, to be running for mayor and want to be all about gun control and then immediately go run for Congress and try to be acting like we're all pro-Second Amendment, it's not happening, buddy. And he's also been caught insider trading way too much for a freshman congressman. I mean, I get everybody does it, but this guy's just been caught way too many times. So, get Sarah Janice Brown, another one on the John Rush show. Had a wonderful interview. Great lady. I think she'll be a wonderful conservative fighter for Indiana 6. For the other districts, for Indiana 7, which is Indianapolis, basically, I mean, they're not going to win, but, I mean, you have Patrick McCauley and Felipe Rios. Haven't really seen much from Felipe Rios, so I'm going to go Patrick McCauley. He seems like a nice enough guy. And, see, Mark Mesmer, I don't think he has a GOP opponent. The thing with him, I'm not anti-Israel or even anti-AIPAC, but this guy has gotten so much money from AIPAC and has been in the Congress such a short amount of time. That is, something is fishy about that, is all I'm going to say about Mark Mesmer. I mean, for Indiana 1, don't really like any of the candidates there. Indiana 2, I think Rudy Yakum is unopposed. Not the biggest fan of him. Indiana 3, I mean, Stutzman, whatever. I don't know much about John Kenworth. I think John Kenworth is his opponent. Don't know much about him. Indiana 4, oh jeez. Jim Baird, rough. Craig Haggard, I used to like, way too closely tied to data centers. Check out the Rob Kendall show for that one. And then John Piper, he just seems like a nut. Man, Indiana 4, they're rough. Indiana 5, let's see, that's Sparks. I mean, I'd probably support Sparks. I don't even know who her opponent is offhand. But Sparks, I mean, you could do worse, you could do better. I'd probably vote for in a general, I guess. I don't know. And then talk about 6, talk about 7, 8. So yeah, Indiana GOP is in a rough spot. I mean, the establishment in the Indiana GOP is just so corrupt. It's not even funny. But if you don't know much about it and you want to know more about the corruption of the Indiana GOP, just watch the Rob Kendall show and the John Rush show. I mean, those two guys do a great job exposing just the rampant corruption of the establishment GOP in our state. But anyway, I think that'll be it for now for my first episode of the Redneck Republican. Again, we'll see how this goes. This video might end up me. I might watch it back and I might think it's a freaking disaster, or I might love it, so who knows. I probably won't make another video until primary election day. I'd like to do like live coverage of the election, maybe. But I think I've been rambling on for long enough now. I'm trying to think. I don't want to miss anything that I've been planning on talking about. But so, yeah, I mean, this video probably won't get out to too many people, but yeah, I'll plan to do a live election coverage on May 5th, I think, is the election day. I've already early voted, so I'm good to go. But if you haven't voted, either go early vote or make sure to vote on election day. And I'll probably start streaming once the polls close, probably a little bit before. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling. Again, I don't know if this is gonna go anywhere, but we'll see. So, thank you all for watching and listening, and I will catch y'all later. See ya.